Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters in Yeshua, the Messiah. So, I don't know about you, but sometimes you'll come back and you'll do a double take on the scriptures, even though you've probably read them a million times. And that's what I kind of did here with Genesis 6 and verse 4. And you notice it says there were giants in the earth in those days and also after that. Now, a lot of Bible translations still render this Nephilim or whatever, but when I did my research in the Strong, it means giants, okay? Instead of the fallen ones. I used to think that it meant fallen ones. For you that watch my videos on a regular basis, you might have seen me state that. Anyway, when I did my research in Strong's, the Nephilim mean giants. So that was kind of revealing to me. Now, if you read that as giants instead of fallen ones, there were giants on the earth in those days and also after that. So let's get that all highlighted here so I could show you where I'm going with this. And then it says, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, they bare children to them. The same became mighty men of old, which were of old men of renown. So this describes the offspring down here, right? The mighty men, which were of old men of renown. And then you have the sons of God and then the daughters of men. But it's almost like this statement is a little bit different. There are giants on the earth in those days and after that. Now, I'm not doubting that the offspring might have been giants. I'm not doubting that at all, especially whenever you consider the book of Enoch, that they were giants. But that thing, there were giants in the earth in those days. It says there were not. It does not say there were giant humans in the earth in those days. It just says there were giants. And then when we look at the fossil record, man, we could tell. We're digging them up. There were giants in the earth in those days, and you look at that. There were giants in the earth in those days, and now you can understand what he's talking about, right? Giants, you're digging them up all the time. Now, so does this refer to humans, or does it refer to the Nephilim, or the men of renown? Perhaps, but just the way it's worded, there were giants in the earth in those days with no description. And then it says, and also after that. That's the other term, that's the other statement here, and also after that. Now, whenever we look back through history, what do we find? We find these kinds of drawings on cave walls, right? And this, like, dinosaur in this little engraving, and there's literally hundreds of these that people dug up, people drawing pictures of dinosaurs, which means that 65 million year thing is kind of like I don't know about that. Now, as far as this referring the giants referring to men, maybe it's referring to both men and beasts, because in Genesis, we also read that all flesh was corrupted on account of the sons of God that came to earth. Not just the humans, but the beasts too were as well corrupted. And is that what we're looking at here? I don't know. Possibly. It would be a good application to it, wouldn't it? Anyway, I'd just like your thoughts on that. Now, Numbers 13:33, we read about the Israelites when they're going into Canaan. We see and there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak. Now, this describes what the giants were, the sons of Anak, which came of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. So these must have been like pretty huge creatures. Now, good luck trying to go find an authentic picture of giants. I tried to do a research, about do we have giant skeletons buried? And indeed, we do have giant skeletons buried. We have pictures of them. But then you have a lot of images, now that's definitely authentic, but like this, right? And this is so easy to make, and people make these images. It's almost like a disinformation campaign against the faithful that know the Bible's true. But for anybody else that's interested or curious, like they create photos like this to try to distract from the authenticity of the scriptures, because we know for a fact that there were giants. I mean, we have even modern day pictures of of these giants. And even people like Andre the Giant and stuff like that, they have this giantism. Usually it's a tumor on the pituitary gland that does not stop the human growth hormone from feeding into the bloodstream. Therefore they become giants. Now this poor fellow here, he suffers from giantism, but it was very detrimental to his health and somewhat. Then you have the other bigger ones, that just seem to be fully formed, and they're just giants of human beings. So therefore, I do not doubt that whenever he says there was giants on the earth in those days, that this could also be referring to man, right? Now, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. That would be the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. Now, were they big? Perhaps, but I I tend to think that they were manipulating more than the DNA of humans. They were also doing it to the creatures, because, as YHOVAH said, all flesh had become corrupted. He says, and God saw the wickedness of man was greater than the earth, and that every imagination of his thoughts in his heart was only evil continually. And it repented YHOVAH that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him as his heart. And YHOVAH said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. I mean, if that don't strike you in the heart, nothing will. But then he goes on to talk about how Noah found grace. And notice this verse right here. And these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations. Does that mean he was a perfect man? No, that means that his bloodline was straight from Adam and Eve. It wasn't infected with the sons of God that came to the daughters of men. And that's how he is perfect in his generations. And we know that. But anyway, this disinformation campaign, that has been launched, I believe that it has been inspired by demons to do this, because, if more people, if you go try to do a Google search, is there any evidence for giant humans in the past, they're going to tell you no. But obviously that is not the case. I mean, we have pictures of these giants, authentic pictures, but these pictures that are made up like this is kind of like a disinformation campaign, how they make these pictures and try to deceive mankind. It's just really disingenuous for them to do that. Now, going back to these dinosaurs, this T-Rex, we are told by modern science that they went extinct 65 million years ago. Every time they use these terminologies about time, this happened, 250,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago. Most people don't question them. They just take them at their word, right? It's like, okay, how do you come up with those dates? Well, when you investigate, here's at evolutionscam.com, there's another video here that you have soft blood vessels in dinosaur fossils. And this particular scientist, risks of losing her job, discovered a T-Rex with soft red tissue, blood cells. Now, you cannot tell me 65 million years. I mean, they throw these dates around like candy. But 65 million years and you have soft red tissue, this is just astronomically insane. They said, well, because of where it is. Well, you could put stuff in the freezer and eventually it will go bad, right? After years, it will go bad. I mean, there's stuff that we say, that it'll keep forever. But when you do it, and especially if you come from my background, there's stuff that they thought that would keep for forever. And then you find that eventually everything spoils. Thermodynamics takes over the laws of entropy. Now, you can only imagine what 65 million years would do to any living thing. It's just crazy that these people believe this. So whenever we go to the fallacy of the modern timescales, and think, can we really go back millions of years? Now, I just posted this, and I'll share this link in the description below. A lot of this is based on assumptions, and then arrogance, and then finally gaslightings to shape this illusion of scientific certainty. Remember, for something to be science, it has to be observable, testable, and repeatable. And that's just not the case when you say that these creatures died out 65 million years ago. This is very fantastic for them to introduce this, because whenever you get to the nitty gritty of argon dating, C14, and so on and so forth, you find that there is a lot of conjecture in here. So in the modern world, people are taught to trust science that has proven the age of the earth, the origins of life, and the timeline of civilization stretching back millions of years. These claims are often treated as facts, untouchable, absolute, and beyond question. Yet the deeper one looks, the more fragile the foundations becomes. Those timelines are not built on observation, obviously, but they're built on assumptions. And that's exactly what science, prohibits. So it's not really even scientific. Many of which cannot be verified and are often contradict the reality we observe in both nature and scripture. I remember when I was a kid, I was in school, and this person was telling, they had a guy come in, and he was doing a presentation, and he says, these islands are very young. They're only 210 million years. And I was like, only 210 million years? Yeah, well, we did some dating on this rock and that rock, and give or take a few million years or so, they're around 210 million years. And I thought, that is an astronomical claim, But so this carbon dating, one of the most popular tools for dating the past is this carbon-14 dating. But this method rests entirely on a single unprovable belief, and it's this: that the rate of radioactive decay has remained constant throughout all of Earth's history. Now, why does this assumption fail? The Earth's atmosphere has drastically changed over time, hasn't it? The fossil record shows that plants, animals, and even insects were once enormously larger, indicating a vastly different balance of oxygen, pressure, and magnetic shielding. And here's the proof. Whenever you look at these things, these came out of the ground. Now, these environmental differences would directly affect radioactive decay, rendering today's decay rate as an unreliable reference for the distant past. Therefore, to assert that the modern rates apply to ancient conditions is not science, it's speculative faith in uniformity. So let's go beyond carbon dating, the Webb conjecture. Other dating methods like uranium-lead, potassium-argon, argon-argon, and even ice core and tree ring analysis all depend on the same philosophical presumption known as Uniformitarianism, right? The present is the key to the past. And we know for a fact that that is not the case. So the core assumptions of uniformitarianism is the geological and physical processes have always occurred at the same rates. Radioactive decay has never fluctuated. The Earth's environment and cosmic conditions have been stable for millions of years. However, both the scriptures and observation, real and dynamic creation, one shaped by cataclysmic changes such as a global flood, volcanic upheavals, atmospheric transformations. To pretend that today's world is a mirror of the ancient past, this is a logical fallacy, one that confuses faith in man's theory with faith in God's truth. So the cosmic question, how about the speed of light, the assumed constant of light? So this another massive assumption underlies our understanding of time, the consistency of the speed of light. Modern cosmology measures distance in light years, claiming that light from distant galaxies took billions of years to reach Earth. Yet this system requires that the speed of light has always been identical to what it is today, an assumption that cannot be proven and may very well be false. The problems associated with assuming constant speed of light is that the speed of light has only been measured for the past 150 years. a tiny fraction in the cosmic history if you were talking about billions of years, right? Quantum and electromagnetic studies show that light behaves differently under varied conditions of density, gravity, and magnetic fields. Even cosmic redshift, often cited as proof of expansion, is based on interpretations, not a direct measurement. The creation account itself suggests that light once behaved in ways beyond our present comprehension, for the light existed before the sun and the stars. Interesting, isn't that? He made light first, and then he made the sources for the light. If the properties of light have changed, or if God simply stretched it forth in an instant, then the vast cosmological time frames built upon its collapses completely. What we call billions of years may in truth be the blink of an eye in the Creator's design. Then we get to this gaslighting and the religion of uniformitarianism. When these assumptions are questioned, the response is rarely scientific. It's emotional and even authoritarian, right? The modern scientific priesthood says, we are the experts, you must trust us. The science is settled, questioning is ignorance. We've heard that even at the C-19 incident, right? He's following the science. And where did that get us, right? Only uneducated people doubt us. So anybody that questions them is uneducated. It's a gaslighting. This tactic is gaslighting. Psychological manipulation meant to silence dissent and enforce compliance. It mirrors a dictatorship of intellect where belief is untested assumptions is demanded under the guise of reason. True science invites scrutiny. False science punishes it. The moment questioning becomes forbidden, science ceases to be science and it becomes a religion, right? Because all of this dating method, this millions of years, billions of years, trillions of years, this is all conjecture. They can't even comprehend that amount of time. The false security of the consensus science. Appealing to the majority opinion has never created truth. History reminds us that scientific consensus has often been spectacularly wrong. Consider, experts once insisted that the earth was flat, right? These were the experts. Others swore that the sun revolved around the earth. Physicians believed that bleeding patients cured disease. Each era had its settled science, and each era was proven wrong. Consensus breeds comfort, not accuracy. And, if you're sold on this faith of the billions of years, millions of years, it's, you could be just like one of these guys right here. So the fear of YHOVAH is the beginning of wisdom. Man's knowledge has grown rapidly over the past 150 to 200 years, right? But it's merely a breath in the scope of 6,000 years of recorded human history. That's right, we only have 6,000 years of recorded human history. To think that a few centuries of observation grant us the authority to rewrite creation is arrogance of the highest order, probably blasphemy. We look at the scriptures professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. The wisdom of this world is foolishness with God, and you could clearly see how, because of what they believe. Now, true understanding recognizes human observation is finite and easily deceived. The laws of nature are upheld by the word of the Creator, not by chance, and only the fear of YHOVAH grants true wisdom and discernment. So, time belongs to the Creator. Every assumption of man's timekeeping, from radioactive decay to light speed, stands on uncertain ground. The world changes, that's a fact. The heavens change, that's a fact. But God does not change. Science may measure what it sees, but faith understands what science cannot see. That time, space, and matter are all subject to the commands of the Almighty. He hath made everything beautiful in His time. So, am I saying that, the earth is 6,000 years? No, I'm not saying that. I'm telling you that I don't know. If one day is 1,000 years and 1,000 years is one day, perhaps we're going back 12,000 or 14 or 15,000 years, but I'm content in saying that I don't know. But this billions of years, billions of years, I just don't get the millions of years or billions of years type of thing. I mean, if this thing is actually 65 million years old, imagine this thing 500 years from now. Even in the museums for the past 50 years, they're decaying, right? They're decaying and fall apart. They got to go make repairs to them. It's just really presumptuous to claim this kind of stuff, and especially when we have stuff like red blood cells in T-Rex soft tissue. It's just astronomically insane what they do. But anyway, our key takeaways are carbon dating and all decay-based methods assume constant conditions that never existed. Uniformitarianism is a belief, not an empirical law. The speed of light may not have been constant. Cosmic dating collapses if it has changed, right? Gaslighting and intellectual intimidation are used to silence honest inquiry. Truth welcomes scrutiny. Lies demands conformity. Only the Creator defines time, and His word stands above all man's conjecture. Anyway, shalom, shalom, much love, and peace to you all, and I will see you in the next one.